Latest update on Rosie. I think the last you would have seen would probably be the top fully installed and working and ready to go. So I think left on the list is I got tie rod ends and ball joints for the front end, which I have. So I put those in. I think she's ready to go. At least I thought. It's been running weird. Sometimes it runs great. Sometimes it runs terrible. You seen the video. I tore the carb apart, cleaned it up, and I thought I'd fixed it because it fired right up, ran great, and then afterwards it just wouldn't run the same. So I figured the carburetor's messed up. So I tore it apart again, cleaned it, and then I found some instructions on setting it up. I checked the float level, made sure it was okay. I checked the accelerator pump. There's a setting where there's an arm down here, if you can see it or not. There's got 3 holes in it. It's supposed to be in the center hole. It wasn't. So I fixed that. There's 2 screws in the very bottom of the front. It said to screw them all the way in tight and then back them off 1 turn. Well, they were out 3.5 turns, so they were out of whack. What else did I do? Just kind of cleaned everything up and checked everything over, checked all the vacuum lines and everything else, and that's when I found this is my vacuum choke, and I've replaced it because the one that was on there was leaking. Like I could suck on the hose there in the end and it wouldn't. It's supposed to pull in to pull my choke open, and it wouldn't. It would just suck air. So it goes, that hose goes to the, you can see it here. The hose comes from the back of it to the base of the carburetor. And since this was leaking, it was basically a big vacuum leak. So that was a problem. So I replaced that. And after I did all that, it actually, again, fired up, ran good. And it stayed idling for a while. It was great. I drove it onto the street, and it died. And then when it went to start, it felt like it was a dead battery. And it shouldn't have been a dead battery. It's got a new battery in it. And it's been charged and all that. So then I worried about timing. I tried to crank it some more and it backfired to the carbs. Like the timing's out. And I played with the timing and got it to fire up and run, but not very well. It was running. Got it in the garage. And long story short, I figured out my timing belt is stretched. I pulled the cap off and I put the rotor at the number 1 piston, the wire for the number 1 piston. And check my marks. If you can see the marks down here or not. Made sure it's top dead center and all that. And then I turned the crank with a ratchet just a little bit, you know, to the marks and that. And watched the rotor go to number 1. And then I reversed the ratchet, went backwards. And going by the timing marks down there, I went back 10 degrees before the rotor moved. So there's 10 degrees flop in there, which explains why sometimes it ran great and sometimes it didn't, and sometimes it would idle perfectly and then just stall for no reason. It's because the timing was constantly changing. So I got a new timing belt, or sorry, timing chain coming in, and while I'm in there, I'll do the water pump just because I got to pull it out anyways, and it was 35 bucks on Rock Auto. So we'll do the timing chain and we'll do the sprockets and we'll do the water pump and gaskets and all that while we're in there. And then hopefully that solves my engine problems. We can set the carb up properly and set the timing up and get it running just perfectly, consistently. So that's where we are now. So my original deadline I put for myself was July 1st, which is a Saturday. July 1st is Monday. So I'm not going to make that. My birthday is the 26th of July, so that's my new deadline. I'm hoping to have everything done and on the road for my birthday. We'll see how that goes. Okay, I got the most of the front of the engine off. Just undid the alternator, swung it out of the way, did the power steering pump, swung it out of the way, took the water pump off, fan rad obviously, getting ready to pull the harmonic balancer. That's the cover for the timing chain. I'm waiting for a new timing chain to come. It's hoping today, but it looks like it might be tomorrow. So I'm just going to clean everything up, so finish getting that apart. The water pump I'm going to replace while I'm out. I have it out. It actually is 2 pieces. This is the housing for it. That yeah, it sits up like that, The top part there is where the thermostat sits, but your water pump sits right in there, so you can change it without having to pull off the whole housing. But I had to pull the housing off to get timing cover anyways. But since I have that off, I thought I would replace it, which is, where's the water pump? Oh, right there. And all there is the water pump. Seems fine, but I'm in this far and I really don't want to replace it anyways. Good time to flush it out. You can see there's been some bit of sludge in there, so I'm going to hose all this out, flush the block out, get everything all cleaned up and ready to go. Okay, I got the gear puller all hooked up under the harmonic balancer. Just going to crank it off now here. This, dropped in the water. There's my balancer, my timing mark. That's the crankshaft. Now I can take off this cover. I think that's it. Alrighty. Moment of truth. Let's see what this looks like in behind here. Mess. There we go. It's almost like there's another bolt under here. Anything else? Oh, bolts in this way. Oh, I wonder if... Okay, looks like there's two bolts that go up from the oil pan into the edge of the cover, so I have to figure that out and get in there and get those. That was it, yep. That's pretty gross looking. This car sat for years, so clean that up. Got a new gasket coming with the timing chain, which was supposed to be here today, but now they're talking tomorrow, so pull that out of here. It's kind of gross though. Alright, before I go any further, I'm going to back up a bit and make sure my timing marks are lined up. Pull the cap to make sure I'm top dead center and all that. And then pull it off. I'm going to double check the timing when I put it back together anyways, but at least I know I'm in the ballpark when I start out. That's the way it should be. I should have done that first. This should slide off once I undo this cam bolt. That's your cam there. That's your crankshaft there. Yeah, I'm just kind of figuring this out as I go. I've done this before on a Chevy about 10 years ago. You know, I'm used to more modern stuff with timing belts. Same idea, but... Okay, what I've done is I've just set the timing cover back in place because it's got the marks for the timing. Just put one bolt in, hold it in there. Put the balancer on because it's got the other mark for the timing. And I turned the engine till these line up. You know, top dead center. My rotor up here. Put the cap on, it's pointing to where number 1 would be. So timing's more or less top dead. It's not dead on, but it's in the neighborhood. Can't get dead on because that's the whole problem, is the timing chain's so floppy. But at least now I'm in the neighborhood. So when I put the new timing chain on, there's line up the marks. Here, I'll pull this off again. Put that there. on the gears, there's marks when you install it. There. To make sure, and I think, well, there's one there. So that circle, that hole there, is supposed to line up with this notch here. So that's right. There's probably one on the bottom. I can't get at it right now at this angle, but somewhere along here there'll be a dot or something and a place to mark it up. I'll have to look up where it goes. So I'm in the ballpark. That's pretty. I thought it'd be a lot sloppier than that. How I tested it was turn the engine over, got it top dead center. That was pointing at number 1, and then I turned it backwards and watched the marks that were here move, and it moved according to the gauge 10 degrees before that moved. So they're supposed to move pretty close. I think you're allowed 3 degrees fluctuation. I have 10. I thought that would be a lot sloppier. There we go. There's that. There. If I was going to change a cam, now would be the time to change a cam. That just slides out. Well, not just slides, there's more to it. I got to pull rockers and valves, push rods and all that, but now would be the time to do it if I'm going to do it, but that's a few $100 I don't have right now. I just want it running. Got to figure out how this comes off and wait for parts. Clean up gasket surface and all that. Order a new gasket kit as well. Okay, just getting ready to put the timing chain on, and had to double check where the timing marks were supposed to be. I thought they'd be lined up with this, but they're not. They're supposed to be, see, there's a dot there and a dot there. That's what they're supposed to be doing, and that should bring your cylinder up to top dead center. So I pulled, I can't see it, but there's I pulled the spark plug out of piston 1, made sure the piston was at the top, those lined up, and then my rotors here is actually, my cap is here, so it's complete 180. So someone's had the distributor out, put it in backwards, so I can either pull the distributor out, spin it around, or just rewire the cap, which I think what I'll do is I'll put it on there and make sure number 1 is here, and then do the firing order all the way around. I don't think it makes a big difference, because obviously I ran before, but it makes it easier, I guess, setting your timing. So yeah, so I just put the old chain on and the old sprockets. Actually, this is the new sprocket, old chain, because I noticed on the old chain, these teeth are neoprene, and they must be soaked in oil, or it's expanding or something, because I put the chain on it to try and reinstall it. It didn't fit down in here. I had to really force it. So this neoprene was obviously swollen and given way, which is part of the problem, because it didn't seem that sloppy, but it was definitely, there was some slop, but I think more so once you start pressuring this. So the new one is all metal, so it should solve that problem. So yeah, I'm just double checking my timing marks are all set up. Gonna put the good timing chain on there and all the new gears, tighten everything up, redo my distributor cap, and just reassemble it. So that's where I am now. I also ran water through here to flush out any of the old coolant and rust or whatever. And the oil pan's open a bit. I had a rag in there, but obviously some got in. I'm going to change the oil anyway, so it's not a big deal. Okay, this is 30 foot-pounds. That's it. Okay. Okay, next step. So I got the timing chain in, and I just put the covers and everything back on. I'd forgotten to take this seal out of the cover, and so I had to, it's a special tool to get it out, but I don't have it obviously. So I just hammered and banged it and pulled it and twisted it out, and that's what you get left with. and the new seal pushes in there. So I got to find something that's a big socket or something and hammer that in evenly. So and then that'll be in. And then I can put the gaskets on and put the cover back on, the timing chain, and then the water pump and alternator and power steering pump and all that. So okay, I got the gasket in there, kind of mangled the edges a bit, but she's nice and tight in there. So and that just rides on the crank right here behind this keyway here. So that should be good. That's your oil slinger on there. Just going to clean up the surface a bit more and get the gaskets ready. You can see the pins. It's in the right holes. One there, they're lined up. But now, see up here, the holes aren't lining up, which makes 0 sense. So I'm just going to have to fight with this and bring you back, because I'm going to do a lot of swearing and hammering and who knows what. This is supposed to be easy. Be back. And we're back. Once I got one bolt in, I kind of lined everything else up. I think when I was hammering to get that seal out of the crank seal, I probably just tweaked the cover a bit, bent it a bit, so I had to basically bend it back. Anyways, got the bolts all the way in, 2 in the bottom, come up. That's all good to go. Crankshaft going next, or the water pump. I'm going to do the crankshaft next, just because. So I'll do that next, and then water pump, and then the rest of the accessories. Now, since my timing gears are all lined up, when I put this on in the keyway, this timing gear should line up with this. I hope. Close, anyways. This is just a rough thing, rough mark, but it's a good sign. So yeah, let's crank that in. Of course, not in far enough. Guessing hammering on this isn't ideal, but let's get it in enough that this can pull it in. There we are. I hope that works. I should check the torque specs on that, but I think it's 2 ugga-duggas. That should be good. Alright, I got the torque spec for this. It's 135 pounds. Now the problem is I'm going to hold that still while I turn it, but let's see what we can do first. Set my torque wrench to 135. 130, 4, 6, there we are. Yeah, it's not gonna. How can I stop that from turning? Because that's just gonna crank over, yep. Oh, there's a hole in there, but I don't want to put that against. I'm going to put that in the floor against the fuel filter. Or the oil filter. I got to change it anyways. Let's see if that works. Okay. Normally I wouldn't want to do this against the oil filter, but I am changing the oil filter anyways. Oh, power steering pump's in the way. There we go. Okay. There's my panel. So, two Ugga Duggas is right. Okay, I've just cleaned up the surfaces on the housing for the water pump. And I've had this cleaned up already. So let's go with the gaskets on. Same trick, I'll use a bit of silicone just to hold it in place and then bolt it on. So there it is, just set in place. Now that's just a housing for the water pump. The water pump actually sits right here. So you can remove just the water pump when you need to do just the water pump, but all this had to come off to get the cover off. Yeah, that's for your heater hose. Another one here, but I had to remove that to get this bolt out. That was a stupid design, but anyways, the thermostat goes in there. So I'm just going to bolt that in. Okay, this will probably bolt on a bunch of different ways, but this is a weep hole. You want to go towards the bottom, so it's going to go in like there. Once I put a gasket on there, and once I figure out where I put all the bolts for this, put a whole bolt through here. That goes in. All right, right there. That one. That. That. And one more. Right there. There's a water pump in. I think I'll put that in next. Alright. I'm going to put some Teflon tape on this. Going in here just to stop any water from leaking, because that's all it is just well, coolant. It's for the heater core. There we go. Now you can see how this had to come out because this bolt was right behind it. And I was like, stupid setup. I put this nut inside to keep from crushing the hollow pipe. Like that's what this is supposed to look like. But I used a pipe wrench to get out and it was just crushing. So I put a bolt in there just to hold it from collapsing on itself. I wonder if I could use that to tighten that in. Probably not. Pipe wrench. That's tight enough. Now, let's take that nut out, or bolt out. What size is that? Much bigger. That'll work. There, that's for the heater core. Well, I guess I should put the bottom pulley in. I probably should have done that. I'll make when I do it, but let's do that next. Okay, got the bottom pulley on. Took a while to get it bolted up because it only goes on one way, so you gotta keep spinning it till you line all the bolt holes up, the 6 bolts. Alternator's snugged in place. Got to put the belt on. Got to put a pulley on here and get the power steering back in. And then the rad and top everything up. So just the usual throw stuff together. So I'll bring it back when it's all together and hopefully ready to fire up. I got to change the oil and put antifreeze in and stuff like that. Okay, where are we now? Last time I did any videoing of Rosie, my 67 Plymouth Fury convertible, I was doing the timing chain and timing and all that, and got all that in, got the timing sorted out. Oh, it was in dust here. While I was in there, put a new water pump in there just because, you know, we're in there. I ran a sensor for an aftermarket temperature gauge. Ran an aftermarket tack, oil pressure gauge, all that stuff, you know. Fiddly stuff, didn't really need, just kind of wanted. Got the timing done. I was hoping that would solve a lot of problems. And the car still ran not great.